You're listening to DraftKings Network.
The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Headshot bang.
Didn't even bother calling Longo with the early start time today. Whenever you may be ingesting this program, welcome back. We're taping 9:05 a.m. Eastern on a Tuesday, June 11, 2024. It's episode 493 of the Anik and Florian podcast. So probably be out Wednesday, but a good time to let you know that heretofore this program is going to be live, Ken Flo.
I love it. Bring it, dude. Bring it. Today, it's a little tough on me. I was up all night with my son, but it's all good. I'm ready.
Really? What's going on with the Archman?
He's been a little sick, man. Like we actually had to take him to the hospital. He was so dehydrated. Like I don't know. He was thrown up for basically 3 or 4 days straight.
Oh man,
so not good. But he's good. They got some fluids in him, but. Yeah, my back's a little sore because I didn't sleep in my bed. But here we go.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, you look pretty good.
Yeah.
You look pretty good. Big Gun Brian Petrie with us off the top of the show. Rosie Red on vacation or what, kid?
Yeah, I'm at the I got the bucket hat going there. Like tied to Alasa. Beachside for the Atlantic's right behind me here. Beachside condo. It's amazing. 2 days, or we've been here since Saturday, but 2 days of really in the sun. Before I got here, I was like ghost. I was just blinding people on the beach. But now I got a little red. That's going to turn to chocolate. We're doing okay, babe. We're doing okay.
Good. Well, pardon my voice. I got home at like 1:30 a.m. in the morning. I was to be in Atlanta. We were filming a movie, as some of you may know. Very exciting stuff come 2025, but can't really get into all of that. But I was to be taping from Atlanta today, but we were able to get out, finished our stuff. So it's great to be back in the home studio. Yeah. We're going to get into the picks, obviously, coming up this weekend. Taira versus Perez. I'm not trying to say his full name because our headliner happens to be the pronunciation of the week, but we have 6 main card selections for you. We will update, place your bets. I believe these guys took it on the fucking chin. We have a lot of different things to get into. Ken Flo, our Boston Celtics are up 2-0 in the NBA Finals. Outside chance I'm going to be in Dallas for game 4. Trying not to get too excited about that.
Love that.
A lot of different things going on right now. Poll question at Anik Florian Pod today. And thankfully, Petrie and Ken Flo like this question. But I threw out the top 4 UFC welterweight contenders in the rankings who have yet to fight for the title. So even though Colby Covington maybe is ranked above someone like Shavkat Rakhmonov, that is why I went with the 4 names that I went with. So off the top of the show today, I wanted to ask you guys, and this poll question is available right now on my X page. Will it ever feel normal to say X and not Twitter, Bri? Ever? I don't know.
No. I still say Twitter.
Yeah. All right. Top UFC welterweight contenders of these 4 who have never fought for the undisputed championship, who is most likely to one day win the belt? Bilal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Jack Della Maddalena, and Ian Machado Gary. Now, Bilal Muhammad has the opportunity right now, so I can understand why you might just vote in that direction because opportunity knocks, and you never know if all 4 of these guys are actually going to fight for the belt. But Ken Flo, let's start with you. You voted this morning. Of those 4 guys, who do you think is most likely to one day become the UFC champion?
Yeah, first of all, I don't want you speaking for me. I did not like the question. I think it was a great question, and that's exactly why I hated it. It's a difficult one to answer, but when I look at it, I actually went with maybe the most unpopular opinion, I guess, and that was Bilal Muhammad. I think that overall, you're talking about he's got experience in there with Leon Edwards. Wasn't going great the first time around, but just Bilal in the way that he thinks about the sport, the way that he executes, I think that's an advantage for him. I think he'll be that much more prepared. And I think he's got a game that is going to be tough, for anybody. But out of all those guys, I could see why Rachmanov might be a popular choice. But I see his wrestling kind of getting nullified a little bit. And I don't think he's technical enough of a striker or savvy enough of a striker at this stage of the game to say that he would be the favorite out of all those guys. For me, it's Bilal Muhammad's experience, his MMA IQ, and the fact that he's been in there with Leon. So yeah, that was my pick.
No, it's very interesting. And you parlay all of that with the fact that next month he is fighting for the championship. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So the poll results right now, before we get into Brian Petrie's answer, of these top welterweight contenders who have yet to fight for the undisputed UFC title, who is most likely to become a UFC champion in the future? 76% of you said Shavkat Rakhmonov, 11% Bilal Muhammad, 7% Jack Della Maddalena, and then 6% Ian Machado Gary. Some undefeated fighters in there. Brian Petrie, who do you think of those four is most likely to one day in the future become the UFC champ?
So when I read the question, I kind of eliminated Bilal because I think he might win the title next. I was like, he's next up. Let me think about the future. And we went with three-name Jack, baby. This guy wants to fight everybody. He's not avoiding anybody. Look at Colby Covington. We can't get Colby Covington to fight anyone. He wants a title shot. You know, it's ridiculous. No, you got to fight people. Three-name Jack wants to fight Shavkat. He called Shavkat out. Now he's got an arm infection. What are you going to do? But I think that guy's willingness to fight, the dog in him and his skills, he's going to be there one day. I think Ian could maybe get there, even though I don't love that he's a vegan now. He looks a little thin to me, looks a little weak. No disrespect to vegans. And then Shavkat is just an animal who is very hittable, but very, very, very good. But yeah, I got to rock with my guy, Jack Della.
So I knew Shavkat Rakhmonov was going to be the overwhelming choice in this poll, but Kenny, I didn't think it would be to this extent, right? And as a UFC play-by-play announcer, right, I'm not going to sit here and surmise that Shavkat Rakhmonov is overrated by the fan base. I'm not even sure he is that, right? I know his manager, Danny Rube, exceedingly well. But the expectations and the hype for Shavkat is just absurd, right? Like, and how can we not sit here today and say, hey, maybe Ian Machado Gary could be as good as that guy, if not better, right? Or Jack Della Maddalena, who has accrued a lot of experience and is on the mend right now. Bilal, obviously, with his fight IQ, to your point, and just his style and skill set, right? Mm-hmm. I knew Shavkat was going to be the overwhelming favorite, but Kenny, do you think Shavkat is overrated at all? I know it's a hard question, but I just feel like he has been put on this pedestal, and the pedestal says it's an eventuality that he's going to be the undisputed UFC welterweight champion. This division is so difficult. I don't know, man. There's a lot of pressure on Shavkat Rakhmonov to win fights, and he's going to have a title eliminator that's huge to become the UFC champion, and we'll see if he can do it.
Well, first of all, Shavkat is an excellent fighter. Don't get me wrong. This guy is very good. He's massive for the division. He's got knockout power. He's got finishing ability on the ground, whether it's with his hands, his TKO, ground and pound ability, or even his submission game, whether he's picking you up off the floor with the rear naked choke from the standing position. He does a lot of things well. He's very, very dangerous. But don't confuse finishing ability and past results with what could happen. And I'm still waiting for that. Like, I want to see him out tech guys without having to utilize that chin to get him through. He has it all. He really does. Toughness, all that stuff. But sometimes I feel like he does get hit a little bit too much. Sometimes I feel like his striking defensively leaves some there to be desired. And against clean technical strikers like Leon Edwards, that's where he can run into trouble, especially when you get a guy like Leon who has the ability to stop takedowns, even against the likes of someone like Kamaru Usman. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. Is he overrated? I'm not sure he's necessarily overrated, but I don't know. I think perhaps guys like Bilal and Brian Pick and Jack Della Maddalena, maybe there's more upside than perhaps what other people see. I don't know.
Certainly, Khamzat Chimaev came in as a guy who had heaps of expectations placed upon him. He's now in a different division, so he doesn't necessarily factor into this discussion, but really not since Kamaru Usman then in 2015. I remember when he fought Haider Hassan in his UFC debut, and Brian Stan said to me after calling that fight, that dude's going to be the undisputed UFC welterweight champion. Brian, it sounds to me like Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jack Della Maddalena. You like three-name Jack in that fight right now.
Right now, I do. The only problem with Shavkat I have is he might be drinking his own sauce. Everyone's on him. He might be like, I'm finishing everybody. What are you talking about? He got pieced up by Jeff Neal. He went in there a little overconfident. Jeff Neal got pieced up by a really good boxer. Yes, he finished the fight. Yes, he won. Yes, he dug deep. But there's only so much, like Kenny said, that you can rely on that chin. And once that chin goes, where's the game at? I don't think he's overrated, though. I think he's very, very talented. I like his size, his length. He can take it to the ground. He can submit you. He can beat you up on the feet. I just think Jack Della is a special dude between the ears. Like his mental is on another level on top of his skills as well. So that's why I'm picking him. But yeah, I love Shavkat too. He'll get there.
I wish I could answer these questions, right? And I would always sort of employ like a to save a dog's life. Like, who do I really think is going to become the champion? I think the better in me, the sports better in me, sees Leon Edwards minus 192. Not this massive favorite, and Bilal is next. So I would probably, take the bait there if I was trying to like save a dog's life. But I find the Shavkat Rakhmonov conversation to be a very interesting one. And whatever that next test is, Colby Covington or somebody else, Kamaru Usman, right? We'll see how that goes, because his tests are coming. And, I like the kid a lot. I really do. Nice guy. Brought me chocolates at the last fighter meeting. Not suggesting he's overrated, but the fan base has, rolled out the red carpet to be sure. All right. So picking up some of the pieces, Bri, from earlier in the week before we spin this thing forward, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the stoppage in the fight between Jared Cannonier and Nassourdini Mavov and the potential for an immediate rematch in Paris. Jared Cannonier, I believe, was on with Ariel Helwani and suggested he wants a rematch maybe in Paris, that Mick Maynard might be receptive to it. So what was your takeaway from all of that noise over the weekend?
Yeah, I thought it was early. Cannonier's, he's a man. He's 40. It's been in there. You got to let him go out and shield a little bit, in my opinion. And I'm never one to really harp on early stoppages, right? Safety for the fighter is important. And I love Jason Herzog, and I love what he said on Twitter. He's like, I've got enough feedback. I got to reevaluate. I love that shit. I think he was a little early on this. That's just what it is. You make mistakes. It happens. Running it back, I wouldn't mind that if the Nina made event there. That'd be great. It was a fun fight. It was a technical fight. And then, they were throwing hands in, towards the end there, and Cannonier got caught. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it again, considering it had so many stakes at 185. We need, like, a true guy in that top five, like who's in, who's out, to fight for the 185-pound title right now. And now this kind of muddies the waters a little bit with the early stoppage. So, yeah, I'll have no problem running that back if that's what the UFC wants and the fighters are down.
See, Kenny, I can't say I have no problem with it because I do think it punishes Nassourdini Mavov. What the fuck are you smirking about, Ken Flo? What's the problem?
I'm just thinking Herzog must be listening to the Anik and Florian podcast. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yep. I did have a little bit of a private conversation with Jason. I wish I could reveal those details, but dude's the man. Dude's the man. But Ken Flo, immediate rematch does punish Nassourdini Mavov to some extent, does it not? Right? He did have Cannonier drunk driving out there, and it seemed as though maybe a concussion might have been moments away. No?
Yeah, and this is where it's kind of a little bit tricky, because here I am saying I would have liked to seen it go a little bit longer. Is a rematch warranted because of that? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch for me anyway, just because, he did hurt him. He hurt him bad a couple times. I just think it was a little bit of an early stoppage. Does it warrant a rematch? I don't know. Maybe just because the division that there's, there's a clog in that division. It's clogged up. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, because of the clog, I think you get some fucking Drano and maybe you run it back. But I do think it punishes Nassourdini Mavov. Yeah. And I do think we all largely are in agreement that it was an early stoppage, right? Sorry about the dog barking.
Oh, no! Ray's going to lose it.
Did Lucky go to your house? That's your dog. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I love my dog. I'm away a lot. I'm about to go to Saudi Arabia and then Vegas. So I thought I could get away with having her upstairs today, and lesson learned. So I should probably go take care of that. There's always a first for everything, I am going to go take care of that. But no, we all agree in the MMA space that it was an early stoppage, right? I think we all can agree on that. You can't referee a fight thinking about Jared Cannonier maybe being face first 15 seconds later, right?
Yeah.
But I just feel like if I'm Nassourdini Mavov, it's like, man, I got the big fight. I didn't overachieve, but I delivered, and now I got to fight this guy again.
Yeah.
If the division wasn't so clogged, I think maybe he would make a big stink, But hey, Sean Strickland might have to fight a rematch against Brendan Allen, right? Brendan Allen is title shot worthy right now. Yep. Sean Strickland is the number one contender. He's title shot worthy, so we do have some issues, right?
Yep.
Got an issue. Here's a tissue. All right, Dustin Poirier, in terms of his fighting future, he fought Islam Makhachev admirably, of course. So I don't know, Bri, if my question is, who would you like to see him fight, or would you like to see him fight one more time? The legacy, I think, is largely complete. Is there a name? Is there somebody that you think would be appetizing enough for him to sign on the dotted line? Nathan Diaz or somebody else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's right over your shoulder there, John. Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz comes back to UFC. Their little Twitter battle they had a few years ago is the funniest exchange ever. It was tongue in cheek, but it also was like a little kind of still like Nate Diaz. That's it. I mean, listen, Poirier, I love him. And if he comes back and fight, he'll get my money and I'll watch it for sure. But he's saying all the right things. What else do I have to do? I've been fighting since he was fighting since he was like 18 or something like that. Some crazy number. I mean, listen, he's made enough money. He's got a daughter. He's got a family. Chill out for a little bit. If something comes up, cool. If not, maybe right off to the sunset. He was going to retire anyway if he won the title. That's what he said. I have no problem with it. Absolutely none. But if Nathan Diaz comes back to the UFC, that'd be a fun one right there.
Kenflo, I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on this. Max Holloway is probably going to fight Ilia Topuria for the undisputed UFC featherweight championship. And then he, as the defending BMF champ, and I guess that belt in theory could be contested at whatever weight class, right? Would Poirier want to fight for the BMF belt, right? Because that at least is a prize of some kind. So maybe he would be willing to compromise a little bit on like opponent to fight for that particular prize. Right. We've sort of exhausted the conversation about him fighting Alexander Volkanovski. But I guess, Kenny, is there a name other than Nate Diaz off the tip of your tongue that you think has the perfect elixir or combination that would get Dustin to sign and fight one more time?
Well, Dustin may not have to call this person out because I think this person may want to call Dustin Poirier out, and that's Conor McGregor. Like, that's the other guy. We're talking about big money fights. Like these are, I mean, the fight against Conor McGregor was a fight that arguably changed Dustin Poirier's life forever. The rematch.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, even the first match, it was just like, all of these things are, kind of, it's tough. Like the BMF belt is interesting just because that's something that's extremely unique that very few people can claim to have won in the UFC. So I see that as a nice dangling carrot. But he's done it all. He's done it all. He goes out there, he wins the BMF belt. There's going to be another fight that someone could say, let's get him in here against this guy. So I don't know. I like the idea of the BMF belt, and it's got to be a big name, a big money fight. Other than that, there's no reason for Dustin to come back.
So the UFC always needs pay-per-view main events, right? So much so that UFC 291 was headlined by that BMF title fight between Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. So I do think the carrot is going to be dangled, and minimalistically, you're probably looking at 1.5 or 2 million to show.
Yeah.
That is complete speculation on my part, but Dustin Poirier is collecting 7 figures when he shows up to fight right now. I just think he's going to get offered some sort of pay-per-view main event, and we'll see if it's appetizing enough for him to sign. All right, back to the mixed martial arts conversation in about 60 seconds. But as some of you may know, getting wicked close to crowning an NBA champion, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out as the NBA postseason winds down. Game 3 beckons Wednesday in Dallas. The Mavericks 2-point favorites at home right now. And if you are new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. All you need to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/bball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right. Pronunciation of the week. It is a main event athlete, Bri. It is not Alex Perez. We're talking about the man occupying the blue corner at the UFC Apex this weekend. What do you have for us, Brian Petrie?
Sure.
Pronunciation king.
So sometimes when I say this name, I do it with a hint of an Asian accent, and I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm not going to do that. I've really concentrated on not doing that. So it's Tatsuro Taira. I fucked that up, I think.
Man, I mean, can you take the marbles out of your mouth and try again?
Tatsuro Taira. That's all I got. Johnny. You can't do it.
You have been great.
Yeah.
You really have been great this year, as we mentioned, so much so that we almost took this segment away from you because you were too good and it no longer became funny. That is no longer an issue.
Right,
you
back,
absolutely fucking mangled both names, first name and surname, butchered them up. I brought this file to the masses because I think I've been mispronouncing his name his whole UFC career. So let's hear the file, Cody, if we could.
My name is Tatsuro Taira. My name is Tatsuro Taira.
Tatsuro.
Right. So
Tatsuro.
I've been saying Tatsuro, right? So I've been emphasizing the wrong syllable. So we'll see how they handle it this weekend, but it's Tatsuro Taira, and perhaps important because he's like 15-0. So
good. Tatsuro,
not Tatsuro. And I know Jason Anik at Boston Anik listening somewhere is like, oh my fucking God, you guys, like, I'm going to kill you guys with these pronunciations. Green jacket, blue jacket, who gives a shit, right? Like I do think like we do overthink this, but it is what it is. We're trying to get our shit right. All right.
Yeah.
Main event challenge, UFC Fight Night, Perez versus Taira. Main card on ESPN2 this weekend. Heaven forbid we can call it the fucking deuce, right? You know, do you remember when I guess maybe you guys wouldn't, Kenny knows this, right?
Yeah.
There came a time where, we could no longer call it the deuce on television. And it's like, why? Why can't we say it's on the fucking deuce? We can on the Anik and Florian podcast.
Yeah, we can.
Main card on the deuce this weekend. Opener on that main card is at bantamweight. Garrett Armfield minus 180. Taking on Brady Heastan plus 150. So Brian Armfield coming on strong. Big win in January on a pay-per-view card against Brad Katona. It's a hard guy to beat in any setting. Heastan hasn't fought in over a year, but he has won 2 in a row. What do you have for us, Vacation BP, on the main card opener?
I was a little hard on field. It's like maybe I was a little bully of him. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, this guy's actually pretty goddamn good. And he is. And I loaded up on Katona when they fought. I was like, oh, Katona's going to drown this guy. Nope. He gave up 4 takedowns, sure, but he got back to his feet and he fucked him up on the feet almost. I mean, he wobbled Katona a few times, had him bloody. Great fight. Garrett Armfield with a good camp, with some real good skills and some really improved cardio. I like this kid a lot. And Brady Heastan is kind of a one-dimensional wrestler. He gets shot. He's tough. Don't get me wrong. He's good submission, good transitions. But when he's on the ground, he's good. When he's on the feet, he's a liability. He gets marked up. That's how he kind of fights. You get marked up against Garrett Armfield, just like the last fight, he's going to drown you in the later rounds. I like Garrett Armfield in this spot here. Yeah. I'd like to see him get a finish, really get his name. His social media on Instagram is pretty good. Let's get this guy some shine here. And I think by finishing Brady Heastan, I think that's what we're going to get.
Are you growing your hair back out? What are you doing exactly?
Yeah.
It looks like you're growing it back out.
Yeah, sorry, Johnny. It's coming back in. I think since I did the shave, I'm going to go reverse. I'm going to grow it real long like Jason used to have it. I think I'm just going to go opposite. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. Wife likes it short, so we're probably going to get it cut short again.
All right, well, we'll see what you do there. Jason Anik's actually going to a real barber. My guy Gianni here in Boca Raton today. 2 hours from now to
Nice.
get a real nice fade. I'm actually jealous, but yeah, we'll see how Jay looks. But yeah, I told him he got to grow it out a little bit because he's like going in his Instagram story, doing these videos on Bilal, like, and new, and he's bald now, and people are like thinking it's fucking me.
Anik really round behind.
I'm rooting for Leon, Just kidding, bully. Just kidding. All right. Let us get Ken Flo's prediction on this one. A little background. So, of course, Garrett Armfield, Marathon MMA, trains under the great Trey Ogden, who was on the Anik Florian podcast, outstanding fighter and coach on the other side. Power corner as well. He stand Spokane, Washington, Sick Jitsu, the great Rick Little. 2 canceled bouts for He Stand Ken Flo. Once against Damon Blackshear, late 2023. He got staff. Then a fight earlier this year against Rinya Nakamura, had to withdraw from that one. So He Stand the underdog, Armfield the favorite. Ken Flo, who do you love?
Yeah, I thought Brian did a great breakdown. I think He Stand is kind of a whirlwind, especially he's able to get you on the ground. He can cause a lot of problems down there. And I think that on the feet is where Armfield can really take this fight, either by finish or just outpointing He Stand throughout the course of 15 minutes. And I don't know, he's looked impressive. And yeah, he's surprised me as well. I think he's pretty big for the division as well. And He Stand, I think, just needs a little bit more experience as far as pacing, striking, putting it all together. And, maybe he has a great night. He's able to take down Armfield repeatedly. I just don't see it happening. Armfield's going to be in that fight. He's too experienced at this point to allow for He Stand, I think, to run away with it. And I like Armfield's chances, especially on the feet. So I'm with Brian here.
All right, next fight for us at flyweight, Asu Almabayev, minus 535, taking on your boy Jose Johnson, plus 400. Almabayev out of Kazakhstan, 19-2 overall, off to a fine start in the UFC, 2-0 in the octagon. Outstanding wrestler, fun to watch. On the other side, you got the Flint, Michigan-born Johnson. Big opportunity for him here, right, Bri? Mm-hmm. Taking on Asu Almabayev. He did fight twice on Dana White's Contender Series, and now it is the 3rd UFC appearance for Jose Johnson. Lobo Solitario. Ken Flo, you know what that translates to? Lobo Solitario.
Lone wolf.
Ooh, Lonely wolf. Yeah. Lonely wolf. Yeah.
Lonely wolf.
I mean, Ken Flo, any fucking language. He's got something.
He knows it.
Bri, what do you have for us on the fly, guys?
I used to have a saying on my podcast, if they're from a stand, you better grand. Kazakhstan, Dagestan, these boys win fights, man. And Almabayev is the same way. He's impressed me his 2 fights in. He's very heavy on top. I mean, incredibly heavy on top. And he does work and he does damage. So he's going to win fights on cards as well. He's not going to stall out. Jose Johnson is a guy who's had a lot of opportunity in the UFC, outside the UFC. He's got big names on his record, a lot of losses. He's crafty off his back, no mistake. He's got a lot of triangle wins. But Almabayev is just too sturdy, too good. I think he's all over this. High number, good to avoid it. But give me the boy from Kazakhstan. And if you have the means, better grand, babe. Let's go.
Ken Flo, the underdog is Lobo Solitario. He was to fight in April, had to withdraw. Now making his first appearance of the year against the highly favored Asu Almabayev. Who do you like?
Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Brian Stan. I mean, all the freaking
there you
stands.
go.
Put it all on him.
Stan not always profitable, incidentally.
Yeah, exactly.
Love you, Brian. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, Johnson's got to keep this one on the feet, right? I think that's his best chance. Can he? I don't think so. I think not only is Almabayev a good wrestler, I think he's got good submissions as well. Mm-hmm. He could get it done with a TKO. His control, all that stuff. I think he's getting off to a great start. I think that continues for him.
All right, next fight. Back to bantamweight here. And we get a close one on paper. A lot of big favorites this weekend. This one not in that category. Miles Johns, minus 122. Douglas Silva, D'Andrade is plus 102. I'll set it up for you, BP, if I could. So Miles Johns might be coming into his own here. He's unbeaten in 3 straight, 5 of his last 6. Big win over a tough Cody Gibson. That was March 23rd. So active competition cycle as well. And now he draws our good friend D Silva, for whom it'll be UFC appearance number 13. He's 7-5 in the octagon. Hasn't fought in more than a year. Kenny was there for his last fight in Charlotte, North Carolina, a win over Cody Stamann last May. Close one involving the 35ers, at least on paper, BP. Who do you like, Johns or D Silva?
Yeah, it's a good fight. And D Silva is what we're going with. he fought Cody Stamann, who.
Well, no, I'd love to hear you say Douglas Silva, D'Andrade, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I'll go D Silva. You gave me a shortcut.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he fought Cody Stamann, who's similar to Miles John. At least he used to be. Cody Stamann doesn't wrestle as much anymore, and Miles John is leaning into his wrestling because he fixed his cardio. Early in his career, he was like, I'm going to hit you with a knockout. I'm going to fucking sleep you. Now, I'm going to use all my game to get you out of there like he did against Cody Gibson, who's very good off his back as well. He has some submissions off his back. Miles John shut him down. I think that's what's going to happen here. De Silva, ricked up dude, but he slows down, especially if it's going to be heavy-paced wrestling, which I assume Miles John's going to do. You're giving me a low number at like minus 122, I believe, is what he's on DK. I love Miles John's in this spot. Probably by decision. De Silva is very tough to get out of there. I mean, Miles John has knockout power, but I don't necessarily see that happening. I like Miles John by decision, but low number, and I think it could be a big payoff here because I think Miles John is finally coming into his own and rounding out his game, especially with that cardio. So, yeah, give me Miles Johns.
Ken Flo, Miles Johns, minus 122 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. The comeback on Douglas Silva. D'Andrade is plus 102. Who do you like?
Douglas Silva, de Bitch Correa. Yeah, listen, I think this is an interesting fight. When I first saw it, I was going back and forth on this one because Silva de Andrade is very dangerous. I think he was a little bit too reckless early on in his career, even though he was getting the wins. I was like, man, this could only last so long. We started seeing him lose some of those, but he's tough. He knows how to stick around. And I agree. Sometimes his pacing just isn't there. He puts so much into a lot of his shots and sometimes pays for it later on down the line. I think he's got decent wrestling as well. Is it enough to stop Miles Johns overall? I don't know. I mean, Johns has got to be on his game. He has to be very defensively sound. Can't lose focus during this one, dropping his hands or watching his work because the Brazilian fighter will make him pay. And but I do think overall, Miles Johns is the better guy. I think he should be able to execute. He should be the smarter fighter out there. If he's able to do that, I like Miles as well.
All right, next up, featured bout at featherweight. Twilight Timmy Kwamba minus 205, taking on Lucas Almeida plus 170. So Kwamba lost a split in the UFC debut earlier this year, trains under Dewey Cooper and that team. Born and raised in Vegas. He's 2-1 here, Bry, against Lucas Almeida. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Kwamba's a guy who I hear a lot about in Vegas. Like, they love him, right? And he's got real skills. We've seen he's 25 years old. It's just every time he fights, you want more. The low volume it's killing him. We got to get you more and more confident, more reps, more in there. I think that's what hurt him in his last fight. I think if he would just throw in 15% more, he wins the fight. I think he was more technical. He just got out-brawled. And you got Almeida. This guy goes for it. Like, this guy has a high motor. He's coming for you, coming for your head, or he's going to get knocked out. I kind of love that about him. At plus 170 with a reckless dude like that, I'm willing to dance with the plus money. Give me Almeida here to surprise Kwamba, a young guy who's really technical. And when you get a guy who is a little crazy, that technical sometimes can go out the window. So give me Almeida. I like the number, plus 170. I'm riding with it.
Kenflo looks intrigued a little bit. Kenny Almeida out of, is it Sorocaba, Sao Paulo, Brazil? Either way, that's where he's from.
Yeah. That sounds right to me, John.
So he needs a win here. First start of the year for him. He's been finished in 2 straight. BP likes him plus 170 or so. What do you have for us on this one? Kenflo.
Yeah, I think it's a good breakdown. I'm probably going to go the other way. I think Kwamba is the more technical guy. I think Almeida's a little stiff sometimes, still hits hard and all that stuff. But I think Kwamba's got to be able to stick and move here, have more confidence in his striking for sure. I'd like to see a little bit more volume as well. But yeah, I mean, he trains with a bunch of good guys. I think he's just kind of waiting to kind of break out and get that confidence and get that experience. Still relatively new to the UFC anyway, still young overall. But I think he's the better fighter. I think he's the more technical fighter. I'm going to lean that way. Doesn't always go that way, but that's what I'm going to lean with here. I like Kwamba.
Kenny, I know you've been in some movies before. Have you ever spent like extended time on a set where you're just kind of sitting around?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So,
yes,
dude, I did something in Atlanta that I haven't done in like 15 years.
What do you got? What happened?
I smoked nicotine.
Did you?
Wow. Dude, I was like,
little cigarette break.
Well, no, I mean, The cast and the director, and they could not have been more gracious. Unbelievable crew. But, it's like at some point, you get offered a fucking vape pen on hour 6 of sitting there. It's like, I will let that into my lungs right now. Yes. Thank you. Co-main event.
Unreal.
Ikram Alaskarov minus 900. Is anybody laying that against Antonio Tricoli plus 600? So how about this UFC career for Ikram Alaskarov? Now, in this spot, he was to face the formerly ranked contender Andre Muniz. But as you guys know, he had a fight with Paulo Costa booked in July of 2023. Then he was going to fight Nassourdine Imavov in October of last year. It ended up being Warley Alves. He took care of business there. Then he was going to fight Anthony Fluffy Hernandez this February. He withdrew from that one. And then, of course, Muniz this weekend is now out. So Alaskarov getting a lot of respect from the odds makers and seemingly bettors right now. Minus 900, and I'm not sure a better price is going to surface between now and Saturday night, Bri. Yeah. He's been great in the 2 times we've seen him in the octagon. Your thoughts on him here? Prohibitively favored, perhaps, against Antonio Tricoli.
This is such an interesting fight because Alaskarov is a guy who had his ticket punched to the UFC, and then he ran into a guy named Hamzat Chimaev who sleeps him, and everyone's like, who the fuck is this Swedish dude? You know what I mean? Unreal. And Alaskarov, when he gets his shot, look at him. He's killing people. People don't want to fight him. He's a stud. I like him here. Minus 900 is crazy. But look at Tricoli. This dude fought Jacob Volkman at 170 in 2016. Jacob Volkman is a 155er who looks like the old librarian I used to have to help carry books. This guy, and now Tricoli's a beefcake fighting at 205 in the Contender Series. Got popped drinking old Chael Sonnen's juice box, and now he got outside the UFC. Now he's back in the UFC. I don't know what we're going to see here is, what is he going to look like? What's his skills? I watched his fight outside the UFC. He won by submission. Wasn't overwhelming to me, but he's fighting up in weight, or not up in weight. He's sizing up with his body. Is he naturally that big? There's so many confusing things here that I really would never give out this play any other time. I really think Alaskarov at minus 900 might be the steal of the fucking year. And that's just crazy to even say. But if you got a fat bankroll, put it on Alaskarov. I think he gets a finish here. I think he'll knock out Tricoli, and he's looking at another contender if he can get a fight.
Nicely done, Bri. Kemflo, what do you have?
Brian, let me bang, bro. He's taking all the nuggets. He's got it. Let me bang, dog. I think it's all good stuff. I don't have much to add. I think Alaskarov is a huge favorite for a reason. The way he matches up here, and how about the respect from the UFC to already start thinking about matchups against Costa and all these other guys. I mean, he's legit. He's legit for a reason. He's dangerous everywhere. And I may have him as a bet as well, Brian.
Ooh.
All right, place your bets coming up later, but now it is time for our main event selections brought to you by the all-new KennyFlorian.com. Holy fucking shit. I was on there this morning, right? Yeah, I got home 1:30 a.m. Still doing the homework, right? KennyFlorian.com. Brian, have you seen it? No, you haven't.
I'm going right now.
Yeah, give him a click. It's really nice. And yes, you can buy our merchandise. There's some short promo code that Cody's going to get for me on X right now for 20% off your order. AF is the promo code.
Nice.
JohnAnik.com, KennyFlorian.com. Doesn't matter where you buy it, but it all helps us give people like Brian Petrie, Ray Longo raises. So let us get to the main event picks. And Kenny, we're going to let you bang right off the top here.
Go.
Tatsuro Taira, minus 180, taking on Alex Perez, plus 150. Taira 5-0 in the UFC, coming off a win over Carlos Hernandez last December. He's still only 24 years old, born in the year 2000. But getting his first real stern elite test here in the former world title challenger Alex Perez, for whom it has been a big 2024, even if Perez is 1-1 spanning his last two. Kenny Florian, Tatsuro Taira minus 180, Alex Perez plus 150. Who do you like?
Tatsuro Taira, he's a finisher. Whether it's on the ground or on the feet, you got to mind your P's and Q's. He is a sharp striker. There's one thing that I see when he throws his cross, he throws his right hand, he does kind of fall forward a little bit, which makes him susceptible to counter shots. And we're seeing Perez get more and more comfortable on the feet, and he certainly has power, always has. I think that Taira, while he can wrestle offensively very well, I just don't see that level or those level of takedowns working on someone like Perez, who is a very good wrestler, who's been in there with some very good guys, especially recently. So I don't know. I like this momentum from Perez. I'm kind of feeling it right now. I like these numbers, and Taira is a favorite. I understand why. 15-0 in MMA is no easy task. I think he's been looking very good. He's been gaining that experience, and I think that there's a lot of upside to him, a lot of potential. But I like Perez here. Coming off that last win, I think he gained a lot of confidence from that. Even in his loss, I don't think he looked bad. So I think it's a good sign that he's staying this busy. And give me Perez, dude.
Gotta like Alex Perez for more reasons than one, right? He's not playing the rankings game, Bri. He gets into the top 5, and he's putting it on the line against 13th ranked Tatsuro Taira. Tatsuro Taira, fuck that up there. But he also understands the value of taking this guy's O. He's the underdog this weekend, Bri. Who do you have for us in the main event?
I love this main event. I love Japanese fighters finally starting to emerge a little bit. I come from the Pride versus UFC days where I was always a UFC guy, but I would have killed to see Sakuraba over in the UFC. There was so many fun. And then they took a lull, and then a lot of the Japanese talent over there, they kind of stay over there now. But we got Rinya Nakamura, we got Tatsuro Taira, and it's really coming up. And Taira, I've been on his side the entire time he's been in the UFC. I've bet him when he was minus 1,200. He's good, right? He's good on top. He floats really well. Wrestling isn't working. His double and singles transitions need a lot work. And then his straight punches are very good, but defensively, I get a little worried. But man, with that being said, Alex Perez, I know he's coming off a loss, or not coming off a loss, coming off a big win. Before that, a loss against Mokaev, which we all kind of felt like was a win because Muhammad Mokaev is such a stud and Perez looked good. This was a guy who had so many canceled fights and couldn't get a fight. And we didn't know if he still wanted to fight. Pulling out all these different circumstances was crazy. But no, he wants to fight, and he wants to turn around and fight quick. And I love that. I love this matchup for him. I believe he's supposed to fight Tagir, and they switched a bunch around. I like that the UFC did that, and we get this main event. And I'm with Kenny, man. I think Perez is hot hand right now. The power, take down the fence. Perez is also really fucking good on the ground as well. So it's not like if Taira gets him down, he's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
I like Perez at plus 150. That's a great number. Great main event. And I can't wait.
All right, as usual, we close out the program with Place Your Bet, sponsored by JohnAnik.com, where you can get 20% off your merchandise order with promo code AF. That includes all Anik and Florian podcast merchandise, as well as all of the One More Sleep designs, including the one I am wearing. Not now, but right now. All right, I'm going to update the standings. You both gave 1K back. Is that accurate? All right, Brian's hanging his head. All right.
Oh, my God.
Team Florian was over $1,700 for the year. You lost $400 on Thiago Moises. And, with an abundance of respect, I hated that selection right out of the chute. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I led the handicap. Ludovic Klein is Jason Anik's favorite fighter, and not just because, he has an attractive, significant other. The kid can fight. You also had 400 on Miguel Baeza Kenflo. That was a dump as well. And then your parlay had Jared Cannonier in it. So Kenflo gives $1,000 back. Easy math for the English guy. You're now at plus 773.46. And Petrie, $600 on Dustin Jacoby, 200 on Cannonier. You also had Dustin Stoltzfus in your parlay. So it's minus 1K for Petrie as well. Year to date puts you now in the red font on our script.
Yeah.
I
got that too.
Minus 419.03. Shout out, though, to Big Ron Pellegrino, by the way. Happy birthday, Big Ron. It's June 11th. He was born June 11th, 1980. So hopefully Code Blue, our producer Cody Merrill, maybe does him a solid and gets the episode out tonight. But happy birthday to Big Ron Pellegrino, who hit the Anik and Florian podcast parlay on DraftKings Sportsbook
Nice.
this past weekend. All right. You guys get $2,000 for pay-per-views, $1,000 for fight nights, and then we'll give you $200 for the UFC Apex events. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll give you $1,000 for this fight night this weekend. And let's turn this fucking hog around, boys. What do we have?
All right. So on my podcast, I picked the entire card. I went 4 for 10. It's the worst week I've had. I went 0 for 3 on you guys, gave $1,000 back. I'm hanging my head in disgrace, but I'm not done yet. Okay. This is why MMA is great, because guess what? We reload up. We got the next weekend. So I like Garrett Armfield here. Minus 180 for 500. Garrett Armfield is going to get it done. Give me Aliskov. Am I saying his name right? I had it. I lost it.
No, you're not. Aliskerov, is that what you're saying?
Aliskerov. There it is. I like him by KO. The number's not out yet, but we'll chase that number for $200.
Okay.
Give me Alex Perez plus 150 for $200. And since I did 3 bets last week and I shit the bed and got my dick kicked in, I'm going to go 4 bets this week and go Perez by KO plus $100. The number's not out yet.
And that will be a good price on Perez by knockout there. So nicely done. Spreading around the resources, Brian Petrie. Ken Flo with a pretty significant lead here still. What do you have for us on the UFC Fight Night?
Okay, Jim. Let's see. I got $200 on Mabayev by sub.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm doing $250 on Mr. Miles Johns.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm doing $250 on Aliskerov by finish.
Hey, Bri. Will he be able to get a number on him inside the distance, Aliskerov? Yes.
Yeah. Inside the distance it'll be a minus number, but it'll be in there. Yeah.
Well, okay, right. All right. So a finish of some kind. So BP will chase that proposition number for us. Not out as yet on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yes.
Ken Flo, as you were, $300 left.
Yeah. And I'm going to put those $300 on Perez.
On Perez straight.
Straight up.
All right. There you have it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Check out Brian Petrie on the MMA Takes podcast if you just can't get enough. Big Gun Brian Petrie at Brian Petrie MMA. Is that the handle, right?
That's the handle, babe.
All right, buddy. Back to the children, back to the childcare, back to the dependents, back to the vacation. Have a great day and a better evening, and we appreciate your time as always.
I'll see you, boys. Thanks.
Enjoy, dude.
There he is, Chief Handicapper Brian Petrie with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast, as usual. All right, just like that, it's not even noon on Tuesday, and we got 2 episodes in the can. We are back next week, and the big shows are Cannonball coming later this month. Of course, Saudi Arabia, 11 days from now with Robert Whitaker and Khamzat Chimaev, and then, of course, UFC 303. I guess this shit's happening, Ken Flo, huh? Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler under the lights. A little scare there, but looking good.
It looks like it. Is it a mind game? Is there something legit there? I don't know, but very interesting.
I kind of want to know. Maybe need to know why this press conference was canceled.
Yes.
But maybe we never know. All right. We got to get on out of here. Thanks to our executive producer, Cody Merrow. Thanks to Brian Petrie. We'll be back with you next week. We'll recap the piss out of this show and get you ready for Saudi Arabia. Happy birthday to our biggest fan, our biggest listener, and an all-around good egg, the gentle giant, Big Ron Pellegrino. Check him out at the Paradise Cantina in Las Vegas. For Ken Flo, I'm John Anik. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the fights this weekend on the Deuce. Yo, later.
To the bread, he's cornbread.
Cornbread!
He's cornbread.
Cornbread!
Life is so precious, do the best that you can. Keep your hands on the bar, here's the open man. He's cornbread.
Cornbread!
He's cornbread.